The stuff that I do is like going up against a rock. So if you got sensitivities, I promise you my material will stir it. Atheists have no evidence of any God. Humanists are human beings first. Not gods first, not heroes first. People, human beings. Paul has done something here that's fantastic, and if we can just make this grow and grow and grow, he's got an organization. You see, I went to my first atheist meeting last year, and I started in 1982 with my work. Now, why did I not go to atheist meetings before? Because the atheists I had met, they didn't care about the Bible. They didn't care about what this whole thing about God is about. I mean, if you don't go to the Bible, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't have the God that we're dealing with. Everything comes out of the Bible. But they're not interested in the Bible, most of them. The biggest thing about atheists is that they are thinkers. And believers are people who tend to follow their lives, while thinkers tend to lead their lives. Big, big difference. I don't think George has known me for 34 years. I don't think he's heard me say first person, I believe, in 34 years. Belief, ladies and gentlemen, again, a rock, stirring the senses. If you use the words I believe all the time, what you're doing is you're paralyzing your brain. You're paralyzing your mind every time you say I believe. Because you're committed. And you know, a true believer cannot question their belief. If you can't question, you can't think. Because the question is the highest form of thought in this world. Nothing's higher than a question. If you've got the ability to question, you've got the ability to think. If you can't question, you're not thinking, you can't think. Every time you say, I believe, you're paralyzing part of your brain because you've locked yourself in and you can't question your own belief. And here's the paradox. You can't question your belief because if you do question your belief, you prove not to believe. It's a catch-22, isn't it? But see what you've done to your brain. You've committed to something and you're absolute about it. You become a rock or a brick in certain terms. You can't be told anything about the thing you believe because you're committed. You stop learning about something you say you believe. The biggest paradox, the biggest problem with the words I believe, you're always 100% saying, I believe, I don't know. That's what I believe means. Because if you knew, you'd say, I know. Again, a thinking process is knowing. Believing process, you're gambling, you're being vague, elusive. You're not committable in the sense that, well, I didn't say I knew it, I said I believed it. So you're off the hook, right? I believe is a real paralysis for the analysis. It really is. I did a radio talk show. I'm going to refer to this chart. This is my website. You can go to it anytime, 24/7. Started 4 years ago, and because of noted authors like Sam Harris and Dennis McKenzie. See, Dennis McKenzie is my mentor, more or less. I started in 1982. I had nobody to talk to about these things for years and years, and finally about 1990, I happened to come across Dennis McKenzie, who wrote the book, The Encyclopedia of Biblical Errancy. Folks, what I do, he does better. He is so good. He's the best. In his book, he's got two of them out. One's about $104, one's $57. But I'll tell you, they got everything in there about the Bible you want to know. That's why they call it an encyclopedia. You got Richard Dawkins. Now, Richard talks with a drink in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Some people don't like it. He talks some good stuff because he's a thinker. And you got Chris Hitchens. Not Chris Hitchens is the one I'm talking about with a cigarette and a drink. Dawkins is more conservative. But they're all taking the Bible apart. Again, a rock. You got sensitivities. You know, every one of these things are all chapter and verse. The thing I do that none of these people do except Mackenzie is everything I lead with is a chapter and verse. It's first. And then I debate the content, or I take issue with the content. You know what happens in a debate with a believer? They won't touch chapter and verse. Why? It's their Bible. They believe it, don't they? And what is a Christian's primary agenda? To convert you and me to be like them or else. Be like me or else. There's extortion, there's blackmail, and so forth. Somebody asked me a while back, I'll go all over the place because I've got so many things here you can check out yourself. I'm just trying to give you a taste of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so when you go to the website, you'll feel more at home with it. You know, it's got all the material. Let's talk about the Trinity for a second. Everybody knows about the Trinity. Very few people realize it's a 16th century Catholic invention. And I think it's 1654. The Trinity is that God is Jesus, Jesus is Holy Spirit is God. They're all one, interchangeable. But you know, if you're going to insist that be a fact, Mr. Believer, you believe it, that's the way it is, it's just the way, it's the way it is, then Jesus Christ impregnated his own mother to produce himself. Can't have it both ways. If Jesus Christ is the Holy Spirit, is God, the Holy Spirit impregnated Mary, right? Then Jesus Christ impregnated his own mother to produce himself. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's not true. That's not right. See, this is the paradox of religion, especially when it's nonsensical. Now, Trinity doesn't appear in the Bible, you say, true. But it does mention God and the Son and the Holy Spirit all together. So they just put a label on it called Trinity. I did a radio program. You'll see it in the middle there. It's radio interview, yeah. The radio interview is an hour long, and I only lost 2 so far. It's an hour long, and it has a lot of the things I'm talking about today because the interviewer was tremendous. They've had all the heavies on it, all the heavies. And going back to the website, over the years, people would write from all over the world, and 80%, 2 or 3 years ago, of the people were believers, and they just come down on me big. I mean, you're going to hell, you're this, you're that. They didn't mention anything about the chapters and verses, except that, you know, I was totally delusional about it. I'm sophomoric. I haven't done my homework, all this kind of stuff. Anything to disparage me, but they won't take one issue that I took issue with. They won't deal with chapter and verse. Now, the Bible, most Catholics don't read the Bible. I've learned that. They've got their confession, they got their, you know, the eating of the blood and drinking of the blood and all that kind of stuff. They got all their ceremonies, but they don't know the Bible, most Catholics. There's exceptions, of course. The Baptists are more like the Muslims. They pretty much know their Bible, more so than other religions. I am geared in debate, and I'm not trying to be strange or brag or anything, but this is a necessity for me. For me to have a good debate, I should be debating a fundamentalist Baptist clergy. He has no excuse for not knowing the chapters and verses. And when he goes and tries to address the selected chapters and verses of the Bible that I take issue with, usually they run. They don't want to deal with it. And they won't get baited in, they think, coming in to debate me because, you know, if I avoid him, he might go away. They won't take the challenge. Now, I know some of you got your pen and pencils out. Good idea, because there's going to be some things said here you might want to check out on the website and so forth. But